Before Breadbox, before this whole crazy YouTube thing and what it's become, I made a video game. And a lot of you guys have been asking me to tell the story of that video game and how it came to be. So, buckle up for story time, because I'm about to tell you the story of how I made SailVR. So yes, for those of you who don't know, I made a video game called SailVR. It's a virtual reality game where you get to be a pirate. And it's awesome. I'm super proud of it. It is on the MetaQuest right now and on Steam. You can go and play it. I'll leave links to it down in the description. But the story of how that game came about, it's kind of wild. So, here's the story. The entire thing starts with a book. This book, actually, let me get it for you. This book right here, okay? Ready Player One. When I got married and was going on my honeymoon with my wife, my mom handed me this book. Not the typical thing you give to your son when he's about to go on his honeymoon with his wife. But my mom handed me this book, and I didn't read it. I had other things to do. But on the way home from our honeymoon, I cracked this thing open and started reading it. And holy crap was I hooked, guys. The idea of virtual reality had never seemed so cool to me. I had seen how awesome virtual reality could be. And that led me down a rabbit hole of where was it at? Now, this would have been circa 2019, 2018, 2017, actually. And I just started looking for where's virtual reality at? How close are we to Ready Player One? This whole obsession with virtual reality led me to investigate what was being done at my college for virtual reality, which introduced me to a mixed reality lab on campus. This lab had all of the consumer tech available in the virtual reality and mixed reality space for people to be able to learn how to prototype with. And holy crap, did I sign up faster than you can say. They taught a class that taught you how to make applications in Unity for virtual reality devices. And, well, I signed up super quick to take that class. The first thing that I ever made in that class was it was a firebending game, actually. Just a little demo where you shot fireballs at a moving target, but man, was I hooked. There was a moment that I distinctly remember when we first got into that class where we were demoing all of the technology, and I put on, I believe it was a Rift S. No, just a Rift. It was like the original Rift. And I put it on my head, and I jumped straight into, this is my first time ever playing virtual reality, mind you. I jumped straight into Echo VR. And that was the most insane moment. Guys, like, I was floating in space. I could see my hands. I could float through space and grab off things the way that you would on a space station. I was doing something I could never do in real life. And in that instant, guys, I was like, this is it. This is the future. This is where gaming has to go. Because for me, gaming had always been a wish fulfillment. When I jump into a game, I'm not jumping into a game for whatever reason. I jumped into games to do something that I can't do in real life. That's when the wheels started spinning, guys. I had jumped into virtual reality. I was convinced it was the future. And this lifelong obsession of video games being this wish fulfillment started the gears turning on what would work in virtual reality unlike anything else. Now, time passed. I eventually started working for this lab instead of just taking the classes. I became a research assistant and got really good at using Unity to make stuff for virtual reality headsets and stuff like that. I became such an expert, in fact, that I had other professors in the college reach out to me to ask questions about how could this be used to better some of their research projects and different stuff like that. And eventually, I got tied up with a startup. I got a little bit of a taste of what startup life was like. Things didn't go very well there, and I was fine, but I was still thinking, what would work in virtual reality? One day, this is all prior to 2020, and 2020 hits. At the time, I was working at the lab. I was also working 2 other jobs. I was trying to get through college as a newlywed, guys. I had to do what was needed. But, because this lab required me to work in the lab, I couldn't keep working there, so I had to be let go from the lab. And the jobs that I did have, which I was lucky to have a job in 2020 that allowed me to work remotely as a college student. I was super grateful for that. But the job I did have, I hated. I did not want to do that job. That was what I was technically training to become in college, was to do that job that I was able to continue to do remotely, but I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. And so in the middle of 2020, on July 13th actually, I snapped. I was working remotely and I was just staring at the screen with no motivation to keep doing that thing. And I had this idea stirring in the back of my head. I had been involved with SideQuest. I'd been watching the new games that were coming out for the Quest and whatnot. And I had tried the Oculus Quest, the wireless Oculus Quest 1. And I was like, this is it, no more chords, that's fantastic. And I was just, again, still thinking, what would work? And the thing that I came back to, again, because of that wish fulfillment, was, what can I be in virtual reality? There's a quote in Ready Player One, and it's like, people go to the Oasis for what they can do, but they stay for what they can be. And I believe that. And I was like, man, why is no one touching pirates? And so on July 13th, when I snapped, when I was looking at that screen and was like, I can't do this anymore, I clocked out of work and I started building a prototype for a virtual reality pirate game that I had titled Sail. Now, that first day, basically what I got out was a pirate ship that you could climb all the rigging, and it was sailing infinitely backwards on a sea. I uploaded the game to SideQuest, and I pitched my idea to the world. I said, I want to build an open world VR pirate game where you can be a pirate, you can go on adventures, you can sail your ship and fight other people. And I put it out there, just trying to see if anyone else thought that idea was a good one. Within 24 hours, the demo, again, a ship sailing infinitely backwards, guys, got over 200 downloads. And there was a small group of people who were begging me to start a Discord. So I'd never used Discord before, and I started one up, and the Sail VR Discord was born. At that point, guys, all of my spare time went into developing this app. I knew I wanted it to be open world. I knew that eventually I wanted it to be multiplayer. I wanted to create a pirate life simulator, basically. And that's what I started working on. In all of my spare time, I was a college student. I was working as many jobs as I could to make ends meet. And I was building Sail at the beginning, guys, on a dual booted Mac computer, because you need Windows in order to do a lot of the VR development. So I had dual booted my Mac computer so that I could do it, and the only way that I could test any of the changes is I had to build it to my headset every single time I wanted to test anything. It was madness. It was absolutely crazy, but I kept at it, guys. I again just got really good at virtual reality and virtual reality development, so much so that I actually, when I got closer to graduation, got an offer from the United States military to go and build simulations for the Marine Corps to help them train. And that's what I was planning on doing. Out of college, I was gonna go work for the military. They offered me an awesome salary for a college kid just graduating. And on top of that, they were going to allow me, the company that I was going to be working for within the government, military contracting, whatever, was going to allow me to continue my education. I had applied for a master's degree to continue studying virtual reality and virtual reality development. And I had been accepted in the master's degree. So I was gonna go build stuff for the military, and I was gonna keep getting more knowledge in the academic sense about virtual reality. And that was the plan. But at the same time, at about this point, right before I graduated, Sail had gotten almost 30,000 downloads. We had a pretty big community on Discord. I think we had reached around 1,000 at that point. And I had gotten the game to be a fairly explorable area with an infinite ocean, a working ship, and like lots of stuff. And 30,000 people had downloaded this demo that I had created for it. And the goal with everything, the goal with going and working for the military for continuing my education, was always to eventually make Sail VR happen. I figured if I go and work for 5 years, I'll have the skill set needed to be able to make this all on my own. I can do the startup life, everything, blah, blah, blah. That was the plan. But I got talking to people. When people would ask me about my job, I would always tell them that. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna go work for the military, but what I really want to do is build a pirate game. I got talking to some wealthier friends and acquaintances, and they asked me, what's stopping you? Like, why wouldn't you just do that now? And I was like, well, I gotta live. I've got, a wife and a kid. I'm graduating college. I'm poor. I need to live. And I'm like, all right, well, let's talk startup. What kind of money would you need? And that conversation is what ended up getting me into a startup type thing. I turned down the military, guys. I turned down a master's degree in virtual reality technology and said, screw it. I'm starting my game studio. That was one of the craziest decisions I ever made. I got a little bit of funding, just get going. And instead of going and getting that salary, guys, I kept living like a college student and started making Sail VR full time. Now, I was super fortunate because in my senior year of college, I had gotten to know a couple of fellow developers in the VR space, and there was another startup known by Continuum XR. They are also an awesome VR studio you should go check out that are still in business today. And we got to talking and we said, hey, let's work together on this. So we created a contract and we started working on Sail VR single player. So I graduated in 2021, 2021, and we worked on Sales single player from like June of 2021 till about June of 2022. So we took like a whole year. I learned a lot of things. I made a bunch of mistakes, guys. And if you're starting up a VR business, please come hit me up. I've got a lot of mistakes you can avoid. So please, I'm happy to talk to anyone who's trying to get into this space. Within that year, we built Sales single player. And because of some awesome people like Danny on YouTube, I felt inspired to start posting about my game on the internet. And we started getting a following around Sale VR, guys. We had started building this massive community. The Discord from before continued to grow, and we got this massive community. And we released single player on August 20th, 2022. If I remember that correctly, released single player. At that point, I was back on my own. Continuum was awesome enough to work with me, but they had to work with me to an extent, right? It was a contract, but they went on to make their own game. Guys should go check it out. They've made a few games at this point. Go check out Continuum. They are awesome. Love those guys over there. But they went and made out their own game, and I was back on my own. I was back to being a solo dev. And I just kept working on the game. The single player was a paid experience. It was $15. Yeah, that was crazy. People bought the game. But the number one thing that everyone wanted out of Sale is they wanted it to be multiplayer. And I was with them. Man, you're right. We should make it multiplayer. So I started talking to people about that. And again, because of the right connections and the right circumstances, I got talking to some private equity groups. And they thought the idea of multiplayer was great too. So again, I got a little more money to expand the team again. I wasn't going to be working with, a contractor anymore. I was going to expand the team. And that is when Red Team Interactive was born. That was when the official team that was Red Team Interactive was officially formed. And the first person that I hired on is Churchill. You guys know him if you're in the Sale VR Discord. He is awesome. He's been with us almost since the beginning of all this. And we just started cooking on Sale VR multiplayer. And so we spent that would have been circa early 2023. Is when I got the money from the private equity, and we started cooking on Sale multiplayer. And we spent 2023 making multiplayer, and we released it early December. When we released it early December, we were hoping to see a major uptick in people, but it was still a paid experience. And I got talking again to some people, and they're like, yo, why don't you go free to play? And that was terrifying. Guys, you gotta remember, this is my livelihood. I turned down an awesome job and an awesome continued education to keep doing, this. And I was like, well, what do you mean? We're not going to make any money. And they're like, dude, you've got star coins in the game, a way to get cosmetics. Why don't you make it free to play? And I was like, well, why not? Just another leap of faith, guys. And we did it. We switched the game over to free play on December 21st, right before the Christmas season. And holy crap, did it blow up. My gosh, I cannot believe how much it blew up. There were so many little places along the way where it's just the right circumstances. The whole fact that Habby147 even posted about Sale VR is crazy. I literally DM'd him a Steam code on Discord, and he tried it out on a stream just willy-nilly, and he was like, this is actually awesome. And now we have a Habby147 cosmetic pack in Sale VR because of that. But guys, just all these crazy little things led to Sale becoming the thing is, and as of right now, as of making this video, Sale is now one of the top 50 most popular games out of all the games that are available on the MetaQuest. And that's crazy. That's where Sale VR is at right now. And we're not done on it. We're continuing to work on the multiplayer, and we're hoping to do a full release, quote unquote, because we're technically still early access, but we're going to leave early access on July 13th. 5 years. 5 years since I put out that first prototype. And that's going to be crazy. But that's not even where we're going to be done after that. We're going to keep supporting it. We got bigger things to fry. And we got other things to do. I got more games up in my noggin that I want to make happen. Sale VR is just the start. But that's just the start of this story, guys. So that's Sale VR for you. Hope you liked it.